Okay, great. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
visible
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Okay. Our first item is a response to call to the community. The commission will respond to Jack Donahue's request to install basketball courts at Scout Park. The commission may make recommendations to staff or city council for further action. If we wanted, we would first discuss whether or not we want this to become an action item on our next agenda. So are there any comments? I see a hand up from Andy. Thank you, Andy. Go ahead.
So after Jack made this request on Nextdoor on March 19th, I happened to see a request from Rachel Lynn Wetherington, and she was actually looking for basketball hoops in the park for her kids to play on because the rec was closed. So I can't move. My Zoom thing does weird when I move. So I just thought that was a very timely kind of confirmation of Jack's request for basketball at Scout Park. That's all.
Could I speak? This is Sonny. Okay, I can't hear you anymore, but except for down the hall. We have basketball courts at Aleppo Park where people can play. It would probably take a while to get basketball courts at Scout Park because we're still waiting to find out what they're going to do with that development space concerning Scout Lodge. For now, I would recommend going to Aleppo Park.
We have two hands up, David and Andy. David, go ahead.
Okay. I would refer you back to that survey that was sent out many years ago on what the community was looking for, and I believe it was specific to Scout Park. I don't know, Sonny or Andy or some of you that have been on here for a while. So I think one of the major concerns was they were some of the neighbors to the, I don't know if the north, I guess it'd be the north and the west, were concerned that the basketball court would become a gathering place for youth after dark. I'm pretty sure they said they never wanted to see lights there, if I recall right, but I don't have a copy of that. But I would suggest somebody dig up that copy of that survey way back. Had a pretty good record number of people, or a higher return rate on that survey than you usually get. So I think it pretty well spoke of what the citizens at that time wanted at Scout Park. And I don't remember basketball court being in the top 10. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't in the top 10 requests. So anyway, that's my comment. That's some history lesson from before. So if we were going to stick to the original survey and try to, as best we could, maybe we ought to have another survey and see if they want a basketball court. I'll mute myself. So go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Joanne and then Andy.
Yes.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Thank you. I agree. I remember when we were putting in the things for Scout Park and asking people, that's exactly what they said. But there are different people there now, I'm sure. And we should, was it Sonny that said, we should send out another survey and see what they think of a basketball court. I remember the old basketball court, and I'm sure Andy does, and David, and you could go over there at night and they were playing, yeah. And a lot of them were not kids from Litchfield Park because we didn't know them. I mean, we knew most of the kids in Litchfield Park at that time when that basketball court was there. When it was first opened, it was, but then as it kind of deteriorated, then the people from Goodyear and Avondale would come up and play on it at night, and it was kind of noisy. So I'm just puppeting and trying to remember what happened. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy and then Susan.
I was going to echo what David said about the survey that we did for Scout Park. And actually, it was in the top 5 things. And I think the top 4 things have happened. So I kind of feel like we owe it to the people. And I know there's one at Aleppo Park, but that's also on the other side of Litchfield Road, which could be a logistic problem for kids of certain ages, or maybe they're not allowed to ride their bikes over there, or I don't know. And as far as non-Litchfield people using our basketball courts, we're a city now. And I think people can come and use our basketball courts. We're a city. And if they're friends of somebody from Litchfield and they want to go play basketball or whatever, I don't know. So I think it needs to be something that needs to be an action item, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm done.
Thank you, Andy. Go ahead, Susan. Oh,
Am I back on?
go ahead, Susan.
I do
Sorry about
remember. I do remember the survey. I also remember Chuck Ranson talking about vandalism and whatnot at some of these basketball courts or various parks within the city. I think if we don't put lights on them, that might obviously prohibit people from wanting to play at night. And if we place them on the south end, I don't think it would disturb the neighbors, other than the new neighbor that's right there on that south end. But to have to go all the way to Aleppo Park, I don't think is right for these kids to be playing basketball. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Susan. So, Sonny, I have a question for you. Is there a time frame in which we would know whether or not it sounded like you said that the Scout building itself could eventually move over to the location where you would possibly think the basketball courts would go? Is there a time frame in which we would know if that building is going to be moved over, or?
No, either.
I think he muted himself. No, Sonny, you got to unmute yourself. Hold on, Sonny. I can hear him because he's in the next office, but you guys can't hear him.
Okay, can you hear me?
To see if he gives an answer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I wasn't the one that said we should do another survey. That was David. Secondly, I don't know the answer. That's a city council answer, and it has to do with the city center. And so I couldn't tell you. If you want to put it on next month's agenda so it can be thoroughly discussed, that's what I'd recommend, because we can't make a decision tonight.
So does anybody want to move to have it placed on the agenda? Andrea, go ahead.
I make a motion to place the Scout Park basketball court on the agenda for our next meeting.
I will
Does
second.
anybody want? Excellent. So all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All opposed? Okay, so let's put it on the agenda for next week and we'll get into it a little bit deeper. Thank you, everybody. Business. Okay, minutes in green. Can everybody access that? It's not in green.
Mine is white.
Yeah.
It is. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes from last meeting? Go ahead, David.
I move that we approve the minutes of March 12th,
Excellent. Do
2020.
we have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good. Next. Yard of the Quarter. The commission will discuss how to increase community involvement with Yard of the Quarter nominations. This is something that we had discussed before. I would like to turn it over to you guys and just see what ideas you guys have in terms of how can we get the community involved with the nominating part of the process. Andy, go ahead.
In an ideal world, before the ideal world, I still have a problem with the fact that we don't have access to every part of Litchfield, and we sort of are a little bit biased on the areas that we survey for nominations, even though we try. The other thing is, like I've said before, we are not landscape design experts or anything like that. So in my ideal world, I think it would be wonderful if we could get nominations from the greater community. And I know we've tried this before. We've put stuff in the city line. We've probably put it on the website. And I think we've had 1 or 2 nominations that have arisen from that. But I think it would take a lot off of us and probably be more meaningful if somehow we could come up with a way to get our citizens to make our nominations. That's all.
Thank you, Andy. Anybody else? Joanne and then Susan.
Hi, I do agree with you, Andy. I think that would be a great idea. I think what we're going to have to do, though, to get that idea is keep putting things in city line and maybe even ask the council to mention something on their agenda at one time. But I think you're right. And that way, people who live in gated communities can get involved also. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Susan?
Yes, I agree with Andy. I think the only way we can do this is through the city line and social media. We just need to encourage people to have more input with their neighborhood and the beautification of Litchfield Park. I think that's really the only way. People that are on Facebook, we need to do maybe tweets. I know the city has a social media person. Maybe they could incorporate that, a month or 2 months prior to when we have to vote on it. It's a small audience, but it's somebody.
Thank you for that. So, Sonny, my question is, could we reach out to the city's social media person to get their input? So how would they picture community outreach via social media regarding Yard of the Quarter via Facebook or Twitter or whatever the case?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sure, we could put it out on social media. We have several forms of social media. We have a Nextdoor account. Of course, we have our own website. We also have recreation and special events, each have social media. So certainly we could put a statement out asking people to nominate homes from their neighborhoods, that certainly can be done.
Excellent. So would we need to make this an action item for the next agenda, Sunny, or what would our next steps be?
It's on there for information action tonight. So you could go ahead and make your statement that you'd like to engage social media, and we'll start, we can work on it.
So we would just need a RPG commissioner to so move that they would like to have everything. We have 2 questions, it looks like, but that we would like to have nominations come through social media from the community, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Andy, you have a hand up. Do you want to make a motion or do you want to make a statement?
Can I do both?
Of course.
Can I incorporate my statement into the motion?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion that we use every social media avenue that we have available to us to get nominations for Yard of the Quarter, but the social media needs to run continuously, not just once or twice. Like, it has to go, I don't know what the rate would be to make it effective, but I think it needs to be repeated and ongoing because people don't maybe look at Nextdoor all the time. And so it's got to be out there on a regular basis so it's there all the time.
Excellent. Susan, you have a hand up. Do you have a question or do you want a second?
I have a question and a second.
Okay.
I think if we came up with a catchphrase for what we're trying to achieve and maybe do it the first Monday of every month or the first of the month or the end of the month, or maybe a certain time that's remembered each month for somebody to nominate.
Yep.
And
I
then
like that.
I'd like to make a motion to have the Yard of the Quarter nominations come in through every social media platform that the city of Litchfield can provide.
Excellent. Does anybody want to comment on either what Susan or Andy just said? Okay. So, I'm sorry, Joanne, go ahead. Your hand is up.
Okay, the only one thing I was going to say is we have 2 motions going right now.
Well, no, she didn't make a motion.
Oh, I thought Susan did.
I think you're right, Joanne, actually. I think
Okay.
Andrea and Susan did, but I think they were similar enough that they could be one motion so am I understanding that you both are making a motion to use every social media platform available to Litchfield Park, the city, so that we could have community nominations for Yard of the Quarter?
She also mentioned a catchphrase that we should come up with.
I'm thinking the catchphrase, should we try and pin that down now, or is that something for like a later discussion after we've gotten with our social media people? And
I think so.
Okay.
I like the idea a lot, though. I think, any kind of media push should come with some kind of a campaign for sure.
So now I
So do
second.
we have- Oh, excellent. All in favor?
I
All opposed? Okay, the motion is passed. Very good. Okay, this is a very exciting moment. Introduction of the new Public Works Director. Now, Matthew was going to say this. I'll turn it over to Sunny. Sunny, go ahead.
Okay, just want to make sure you can hear me again.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
my face doesn't pop up like Joanne and everyone else's. But no,
Well,
I'm very
pop it
happy.
up.
I don't know what the deal is.
You
It's
just push video.
Okay, just a minute. Let me make my introduction.
Okay.
there you are.
There you are.
Where? Oh, there I am up in the top. Okay. Well, anyway, hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody and hear everybody, but I am very happy to introduce our new Public Works Director, Richard Alvarado. He went through the interview process, several panels interviewed people for this position. Richard has been here for 14 years plus, and he was assisting Brian in the capacity of the head position. So Richard Alvarado is our new Public Works Director, and he's with us tonight, so he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Great.
Well, how you guys doing? Again, I'm excited to become new Public Works Director. And like Sonny had said, I've been with the city 14 years. I've enjoyed every year. I pretty much love what I do. And, a little bit of background on the whole 14 years. Started out as a maintenance tech, went on to become a supervisor, started an irrigation supervisor. I had the opportunity to interview for the public works manager, and I've done that for the past couple years now. And now I'm excited to be the new director. So
Welcome.
that's pretty much me.
Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations and welcome for short.
Thank you, sir.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the Camelback Park playground equipment, and it's Richard taking it away.
Okay, so yes, as you guys know, if you pass down through Camelback Park, the installation of the new playground equipment has been done for a little over a week now. It was it was an exciting process. It took about a week to basically remove and then install. So Public Works had a big part in that. We removed the park play equipment and got it all prepped for the company to come install. And once the company came out, Public Works again came in, spread the engineered wood fiber, basically to complete the project once the installation was done. So that was an exciting project to do. And if you guys have seen, I believe there is a picture of the crew attached in the agenda there
Mhm.
with the new playground behind. So, like I said.
Can we show that? Well,
There we go. Susan got it there.
yes. Ha, we're all showing it. All right.
Yeah. So again, it was a good project to be a part of. I'm glad we got to, the council and as well as the commission here approved it. And now it's ready for the residents to enjoy.
Thank you for that, Richard.
All right.
Does anybody have any questions? Susan, go ahead.
It's not a question, really. It's just a comment. I wanted to thank Richard and the city and everyone involved for that playground equipment because I live right by there and there's a lot of young families right there and they are loving it. In fact, I've even received a few text messages from them. First, the text messages were they were upset that the old equipment was coming down. They thought it was being torn out. And they were ecstatic when we told them that, no, it's new equipment going in. And to be able to play on it is just great for these people. So I just wanted to give kudos to everyone involved.
Thank you. I'll make sure to pass that along to the crew as well.
Excellent. Sunny is going to take this next part as well. So this is the COVID city facility restrictions section, item E. Sunny, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Of course, for quite a while, we've all been kind of stay-at-home order by the governor, as well as our mayor. And on June 1, the governor lifted his restrictions. And so in June, actually before June 1, but June 1, we opened up our facilities. We opened up the swimming pool. It's limited to 15. We're in what we call phase 1. We're going to operate under 3 phases, phase 2 and then phase 3. Phase 1, we open the pool to a limited number of people, 50 people at one time. We've only had one time over that threshold and had to turn some people away. But other than that, it seems to be working well. We put up a plexiglass barrier, I would have to call it, a screen in front of at our lobby, so that when people come in, our staff's protected from communicating from the, getting in touch with the virus. And our staff in the lobby wears masks. We do not require the people coming into the pool to wear a mask. And of course, you can't wear a mask in the water. You guys can hear me okay? You hear me? Okay, I just want to make sure. But what we have done is we're open from 6 to 9 in the morning, and we're kind of monitoring how many people are using it. And we're quite surprised. We're getting a good number of people using the pool from 6 to 9 in the morning. Swimming laps are just coming in to casually be in the water. And then we open up again in the afternoon from 3 to 9. So it's quite a bit of time. But also at 9 o'clock, we opened up some classes. We're not doing the normal group learn to swim classes because we feel like that's too much contact with the individuals. But we had quite a few people that were upset that we couldn't do a Legardo swim team. So what we've offered is stroke and conditioning classes. And we can take 18 kids at a time using the 6 lanes. And as soon as we opened that up, it filled up immediately the first week. So we advertised for the second week, and we have 2 classes fill up. So that's what we're operating now. We also opened up a water aerobics class that's 2 nights a week and on Saturday morning. And the report I have is that we're getting 20 or more people in that class. We've capped it at 25, and we're getting between 15 and the 25 for those water aerobics classes. So that's something that seems to be going well. It's the only thing going on when they're having that class, so they can spread out in the pool. So we don't have other swimmers swimming around them or anything like that. The tennis courts are open, and classes are going there. Our tennis pro is doing the best we can to social distance individuals. Also, the basketball court is closed at this time, but it's on the agenda to talk about. We're going to be resurfacing that. But right now that's closed because they felt like that could get to be more like a contact thing and people would not operate or practice social distancing. So for phase 1, the basketball court is closed. It would most likely open in phase 2. All parks have opened. Public Works is sanitizing. They have backpack sprayers. They sanitize the playground equipment, all benches in the parks once a day. They sanitize the bathrooms twice a day. And then we're doing the same thing at the recreation center, where anytime someone sits in a lounge chair, and we've spread those apart, as soon as they leave, those get sanitized. We did buy some backpack sprayers that spray a fine mist that's meant to go on the surfaces, and it dries within about a minute and sets up a barrier to the COVID-19 virus. So we're doing that everything is sanitized at the pool every hour, except for the lounge chairs. They're sanitized every time someone leaves the lounge. Not every time they get up and sit down, but every time they leave and a new person wants to use it, it gets sanitized. I think that answers the questions on what we're doing at City Hall. We've called everyone back. Some people can still work from home if it's cleared with the city manager and they can do their job from home. But most people are back now. We're wearing masks in City Hall, not necessarily if you're by yourself in your office, but when you go out into the hall, you might be passing individuals or working with the public. We all are wearing masks. And you may know that the numbers are going up if you watch the news at all. And not only just the numbers going up because there's more testing, I hear that all the time, but the number of serious cases filling hospital beds has increased. So we're watching this very closely, and we're hoping people are following the CDC guidelines the best they can, and we're doing our best to help facilitate that. Any questions?
I have a statement and a question, actually probably two questions. So I have a daughter in the swim classes right now at the pool, and it's really done very well. And the attention to detail that's spent in terms of even the markings on the ground where they've X'd out where chairs are supposed to be and things of that nature really guide people's behavior. And the classes are wonderful. My daughter loves it. So thank you very much for everything you guys are doing there. My first question is, can anybody use the tennis courts right now, or is it only for the tennis pro to use with her students? And my second question is...
Tennis courts are open.
Oh, go ahead. So anybody could come up now and pay the hour fee or whatever, the daily rate, or be a member, and they could use them?
That is correct.
And is that the same for pavilion rentals and things like that?
Pavilion rentals are being looked at very carefully. We're not going to let someone use a pavilion that's going to have a large gathering. I think we would consider someone says, I want to have a birthday party. We're going to have 20 people or 15 people, and we're going to practice social distancing. And then we may, speak with them and consider that. But right now, we're not open to any large gatherings.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anybody else have any questions, statements, comments?
Yes, sir.
David, go ahead, sir.
Okay. You ready? Can
Ready,
you hear me?
fire away.
Okay, good. Sonny,
Yes, sir.
I know that they had planned a reopening of the pool, and I don't know if that came about, but is there anything planned for 4th of July around the pool activities, or I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I think Matthew is going to report on that in his report. If
Okay,
he doesn't,
that's fine.
I could give
Great.
it, but yeah, we have something.
All right. I'll wait. Thank you.
And you just reminded me of this with your question, David. Matthew had presented a possible movie night at one point or another starting up. Is that still being considered, Sonny, or?
That's not an agenda item right now, but I think, again, in his report, I think he was going to mention some things about that. But that doesn't have to do with what we're talking about right now.
All right,
But yeah,
so we can't
it
talk
is.
about that now anyway.
Can't discuss it, but
Okay.
yeah, it's in the plans.
Okay. All right, are there any more comments about this? All right, thank you for covering that, Sonny. Next, Sonny's going to take this next one too. Design of wayfindings signage.
Matthew had to explain to me what that is because I've never used that phrase, design of wayfinding signage. But what that means is directional signage. And we're talking about, you've all seen the old sign on Litchfield Road, just before you get to Wigwam Boulevard, where you're heading north. And it's kind of a half circle sign. It talks about the downtown district, recreation center, pool, things like that. Well, it still has the old logo on it. And then I think there's one on Indian School as well. And of course, the Wigwam has their own signs in the middle of town, directing people to the golf course and so forth. But that's what Matthew had in mind. He would like at some point that we maybe not get into all the details tonight, but put it on for a lengthy discussion of maybe some new signage that could direct people to the downtown, our downtown area, the pool, the library, the business district, restaurants, that kind of thing, something to replace those old signs that are out there now. That's what this was all about.
So Sonny, am I correct in what you're saying is there would have to be now a motion to put it on a future agenda?
I think you could just carry it to another agenda. In other words, you could spend all night talking about it right now if you want to, but I think without any thought and not having thought about it yet, it wouldn't be a good idea. So yeah, you can make a motion to put it on another agenda because it is for information and action.
So would anybody, we have a couple of hands up. Woody, go ahead. Oh, wait a minute, Woody. Did you hit it?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, fire away, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that one of the things that we're going to do as a part of the city center is to come up with some wayfinding signage for the city center itself. So if somebody's coming into the city center, they can see, we'll have the restaurants and the shops, the various shops and stores and the park, and other highlights of the city center. Those will all be included on a wayfinding signage system within the city center. So, Sonny, what I was going to say is it'd be nice if we could coordinate that so that, if we come up, we don't necessarily have to have a uniform design, but if we could come up with something that works throughout the city as well as the city center and, work on that together.
I would agree, Woody. It would be nice if they're uniform, but I think it would mean two different signs. One highlighting, up towards Village Parkway, highlighting all the things that are in the city center, but another pointing them down Wigwam Boulevard towards the library and the swimming pool and some things like that. So, but they could be uniform signage that has the same look.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Andy? Go ahead.
I was just going to say exactly what Sonny and Woody said, is that I don't think it's a lot of discussion. I mean, we've got our logo and the signs can only be so big or people aren't going to be able to see them or there's going to be too much. And we definitely need to coordinate with the city center plan. So, if we've got a design team there that can come up with something and then we just fill in the wording for the appropriate location, I don't think it's like rocket science.
Oh, okay. How about this? May I speak again?
Take it away, Sonny.
How about we come up with something and bring it to the commission for approval? Make sure we're kind of like on the same wavelength as you guys are, because like Andy said, there's only so much you can say, and there's only so many things you can point them to, at least on down the Wigwam, towards the pool. City center, maybe a lot more. But I think coming with the design and the idea, it doesn't have to happen right away, but it'd be something that Woody and his design team working on the city center, we could all come up with something that that you guys like and then bring it to you rather than have you try to figure out what it should all say.
That sounds good. I like that idea. Are there any more comments on that? Oh, pardon me. Go ahead, Susan. Sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to, I believe it, the last time I was at a meeting, which was a couple months ago, I mentioned that I was asked to sit on a committee for the marketing behind the city center. And I think once they start meeting again and they get their slogan and their logos and that kind of thing, then we can move with those designs and then drop in what we want to drop in. But I think it's going to start there.
That's a good thought. Don't put the cart before the horse, so to speak. So maybe not for next meeting, but maybe for a future meeting, we'll have some examples, Sonny, to look at and refer over to council. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it would probably be a while. Yes.
And we
Okay.
could invite someone from that committee to one of our meetings and, you know, maybe show us the conceptual logo or whatever that they might have at that time.
Yeah, that's more a Woody
For
question
city
than
center,
for me.
or are you referring to, oh, I'm sorry, Sonny, go ahead.
No, that's more of a Woody scouting question than me. He's working more with the city center than I am. But yeah, I understand what you're saying, Susan. Do you agree, Woody?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay, so we'll have examples when the time comes. And Susan, would it be okay for you to reach out to somebody when you guys have a design in mind to invite them to the meeting as well?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Any more comments on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes,
getting
sir.
a message. I'm getting a message from Matthew saying he's trying to log into the meeting and it says that the meeting has everyone locked out.
Oh, boy.
He's trying to join.
We're going to look at that. We're going to look at that right now.
Do you have to invite him?
Well, we all got the same invite, but he was here and then he had to run out. So now we're working on that now, Sonny. Should we pause for a moment and see if we could get him connected
If it's
in
gonna-
regards to this item, or do you want to move
Well,
on?
no, I wouldn't worry about the item. I just wanted to let you know that he's sending me text messages saying I'm trying to get in, but it says the meeting's locked out. If
Okay,
someone
stand
has
by.
a phone and can reach out to him, let him know that try again. I don't know.
I'll try again.
Let's have him try again now, Sonny.
Okay, I don't know how
I
to
don't
tell
know.
him that and stay on
He's
myself.
not listed on. He isn't listed on the site.
Right, because he hasn't joined.
Yeah, he has to join. He has to put in the number, the.
Yeah, he's trying all
880,
that.
blah, blah, blah.
He's trying
Okay.
that, but he gets a message saying that the meeting is closed for now.
It says it's locked by the host.
What's I mean?
Huh.
We're working on that now.
There's a
so
thing when
hopefully
you-
we.
Press on the three things that says meeting setting.
Not on there.
Huh. I don't
So
know
we're
either.
trying to reach out to him now to ask him to sign in again.
It showed up here. I don't know. Would I lose me? We're checking something.
Don't walk around with the phone, Sonny.
I'm not. Try again. Okay.
I'll be back.
Shall we go ahead?
Here's the time, we'll see if that works.
Okay, we sent him a text to try again.
Go.
Okay.
So we could, I think, keep going to the next thing. If you're finished
Okay.
with the sign design.
Yeah, I think we are. There weren't
Okay.
any more comments on it, so we can move on, and as soon as we hear from him, or as soon as we see him try and jump in, we'll certainly get him in there.
Sounds great. Want me to go
Okay,
with the
Camelback.
recreation center?
Oh,
This
Pardon
basketball
me,
court.
yeah, I'm sorry. Recreation
Okay.
Center basketball court resurfacing.
Okay, Richard might be able to chime in on this as well. We're in the process of taking bids for the basketball court. It hasn't been resurfaced since it was first, since we got the grant, Spark the Park grant way back when from Sprite. And it's, some of the paint's starting to peel up, so the ideal time for us to do this is in July. And also we're looking at getting the tennis courts redone in July because there's no tennis lessons during July. So we're in the process of taking bids for that now, and hopefully we'll get it done. It's part of the CIP already in the budget. And so hopefully we'll get that to council at the July meeting and get it approved and have those done, ready to go for August and September. That's all, unless Richard has something to add.
No, sir, you pretty much covered it right there.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything from anybody else? Questions regarding that?
Nope.
It says Matthew just got back to me, says it still says locked by the host.
Go ahead, try it one more time.
So we just sent him another invitation. He should be able to get in through that invitation.
Do I need to tell him that again?
Yes, please. Okay. So, Richard, I'm going to turn it over to you for,
May I speak? Do you want to make a motion on the basketball courts to,
oh, I thought that was already completed.
no, for the recreation resurfacing to recommend that to council?
So, Sonny, do we have to make a motion to recommend over to council for the basketball courts to be resurfaced?
Well, it wouldn't hurt. In case they ask, did you guys, did you know about it? Did you approve it?
I'm
It's on there for
not sure I
information and
remember the
action.
previous discussion on it.
It's on there for action. It needs to be done.
Okay, just out of curiosity, what's the cost for it, Sonny? And then I'll turn it over to Joanne for a question.
Haven't gotten the bid yet. I think if you just say that you approve that it's done with, if it's within the allotted budget that's been budgeted. And I don't know what Richard may know. I don't know.
Yeah, so we're in the process of getting the bid. So we're looking to the beginning of next week, hopefully, to have that bid sent over to us.
Just a ballpark, what is it, just if you, off the top of your head, if you had to guess?
Honestly, I'd have to get back with you on that one.
And I don't remember
Okay.
either.
All right, David, you got a hand up, and I think I saw another hand up. So whoever else had a question, please put the hand back up. But David, go ahead.
I don't have a recommendation. I just want to make the motion, or have somebody make a motion. And I'll second it to move on here. I'm recommending.
So you're making a motion, David, to recommend that the basketball courts be resurfaced.
I had my hand raised.
Okay. I was going to.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Go ahead, Joanne.
I move what we have been talking about. I move that we wait for more information and then have a recommendation to the council regarding the resurfacing of the basketball court.
And tennis.
Yes, and tennis courts.
Joanne, would you like to move and tennis courts also?
Yes, include those.
Oh, pardon me. I don't think we can move for the tennis courts because it's not on the agenda. Although, Sonny, I know you mentioned it. Just the basketball resurfacing is on the agenda.
Disregard it then.
I tell you what, there's enough time for us to bring this to RPG in the July meeting before it goes to council.
Okay.
So you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I rescind my motion.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Matthew is in. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, sir. I apologize.
Welcome.
Thank you. Everything
Turn
is
your
up here.
video on, Matthew.
Okay, 1 second. Thought I had
Hey,
him.
Matthew.
There you are.
Hi, guys. I apologize for the delay. I had a personal emergency here, but everything's okay. So exciting night.
Good.
Oh, boy.
Where are we at? We're on item H.
Yes, sir. So we are right now moving into Kiwanis Park concerns. Richard, take it away.
All right. Well, it looks like on here, the commission, there's some Kiwanis Parks concerns. So I'd like to hear what the commission, what the concerns are, and possibly just go over them. So.
Okay. David, fire away.
There we go.
Yeah. So I'm the one that brought this up, or asked Anthony to put it on the agenda. We seem to have lost two large swirl cactus down there the last few months. One of them is still there on the ground. And I'm just wondering, would that be a good educational site for
David, you may have
visitors that have never seen us kind of deteriorate. So I'm just wondering. Say what now? Oh, okay. Yeah. So if it's not in the walkway, I thought it was, and I think we pushed it to the side, but I don't know. Is it worthwhile as a tourist attraction to let people see what a cactus looks like as it goes down? So see the spines, or maybe the preschool want to come down and take a field trip and look through the cactus. I think I added on there that perhaps somebody, Kiwanis or somebody, could put up a little signage that says, what this is and what's going on here. But that was my first item. The other one was, and I think it's called the Cactus Park or Desert Park. So the signs at the east side actually have a large cactus growing in front of the sign, so you can't read the sign anymore. If you can throw that one up there, Anthony. And I guess I was asking for suggestions. Do we move the sign or do we move the cactus? So anyway, I just brought it up for discussion to see what we wanted to do. So it's probably appropriate that there's a cactus there, so they can see what a desert has in it or whatever. But anyway, that was it, Anthony. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any action required or whatever, but I thought more of a discussion point to do. What do we want to do with the swirl? Or maybe they have an idea what they're going to do. I know they've been pretty busy with that park equipment up at Camelback, playground equipment. So maybe it's scheduled to be moved, the swirl that fell down. And I guess we're down to half the swirls that fall in the last year, I think, or at least 3 out of the 6. So is there something wrong with the soil there? Or are they not, they just all going to fall over? Or Anybody got any ideas?
Too much water?
Richard, respond.
Well, first of all, great idea as far as educational for the saguaro laying down there at Kiwanis Park. That's always an option there. It looks from the picture as the tips of that saguaro are into an ocotillo. So we may need to, if it's not all the way in that ocotillo, which it looks like it is, we may need to cut that out a bit, but I would definitely not be opposed to kind of leaving it there for an educational or, as it deteriorates and goes through the whole process, and not opposed to that. As far as the Kiwanis Park sign, I think it'd be a great idea to take that sign and just move it over to the, just a little further east of that. So that way we don't disturb that cactus there currently. We just let that one continue to grow. And if the sign is not cemented in and it's just kind of compacted with the around, I think it'd be a great idea. Something we can do is move it a couple feet to the right, and it fixes both problems.
You might ask, some of your senior staff that have been there, I think, are the ones that put the sign in, so they may know how deep it goes and things like that. I wasn't there when they put it in. I just know it showed up. There's one at the other end also. So anyway.
One more thing on that, Kiwanis Park is scheduled for maintenance on Monday of next week. So our crew has been through there to clean it up, and the past windstorms over the past, or not, I won't say windstorms too bad, just a little heavier winds than normal have kind of knocked over some of the ocotillos in there. But like I said, Public Works staff is scheduled to be in there next week to do some cleanup.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, David. Does anybody else have a comment on this? Oh, Andy, go ahead.
Unmute. I really like the idea of leaving the dead cactus there, because that's what really happens in the real world out in the desert. And if it is in fact a desert park, then let's leave it as real life and not just focus on the pretty. So I really like that suggestion. And then as far as the sign goes, maybe down the road, since it is a city park, it could get a sign with our logo on it at some point, like in it next year when there would be a budget item for that, so that it matches the other park signs. That's all.
Thank you, Andy. Any other comments? I have a question. So, David, you had mentioned, I guess, some sort of outreach to the preschool or maybe other schools too, for students to come and see what the cactus is doing as it's deteriorating. Were you thinking that there would be maybe like a sign there too, that this is what will happen to this cactus over the course of the next?
Just some sort of description. I think there's actually a little, very, very small, like a 3x3 or 3x5 sign in front of each of the cactus. It was an Eagle Scout project a couple of different times. So maybe something a little larger right there beside this saguaro that's laying down. I mean, I've seen them, and a lot of people see them that go hiking in the desert, but I think our visitors who come to visit the wigwam and are just visiting Litchfield Park may have never seen a saguaro laying down. So I was just throwing it out. I mean, there's probably a dozen reasons why we shouldn't leave it there. Kids will pick up those spines and play Star Wars or whatever. But yeah, I think a little narrative, a little descriptive narrative that says, this is the saguaro, this is the stages it goes through. So how old they grow and how tall they are and how big they are and how much they weigh, and don't get underneath. Don't let one fall on you or whatever. So anyway, yeah, that was my comment. But and I'm sure I think I know a resource that will probably pay for that. So it wouldn't have to come out of the city's capital budget or whatever. So.
Right on. Go ahead, Richard.
Oh, I think Woody had.
And then Woody.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we know roughly when it fell over?
So I would
Because
say,
that would, I mean, if you're gonna put up a sign, that would certainly help the educational process to know when it fell down so they could determine, you know, here's how long it takes for it to reach this stage of decomposition. Just a thought.
yeah.
Go ahead,
without
Richard.
an exact date, I would say about 2.5 weeks ago, unless anybody else had seen it laying down before. That's just an estimated.
Yeah,
Well,
I think, right.
And I think that's close enough for what the purpose we're trying to accomplish here.
Yes. And then also just as a kind of a heads up, you know, as I mentioned, it is scheduled to have maintenance Monday of next week. So it would be a good idea to decide whether or not we're going to keep it laid down there or removed. That way I'm able to give some kind of direction for the staff come Monday morning. Possible.
I like the idea. I guess now, Sonny, we're waiting for somebody to make a motion on leaving it there for educational purposes with some sort of signage to explain.
If, I wonder, does anyone have an idea? Are we talking about 50 years from now, or how long does it take to do that? I'm a novice at that myself.
I don't know personally.
I don't know if rabbits like it or not. I know there's a lot of rabbits down there, so I don't know if they'll chew on it too or what. But anyway.
Joanne, go ahead. Oh, Joanne, go ahead now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I move that we leave the fallen saguaro down for educational trainings.
Nice. Does anybody second?
I'll second it. Just to get
All
it to
in
a
favor?
vote.
I,
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, excellent. So what, will we need to discuss what that signage look like, Sonny, or can we
No, I don't.
just say,
I think that's a detail you don't have to decide.
excellent, okay. So we can move on now, right?
Yes.
And did we answer the other question about the sign itself? So Richard, you're gonna get information back to us on the sign that's covered by or almost covered by the 2 barrel cacti?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Well,
Oh, go ahead, David.
No, I'm done. I'm
Go ahead,
ready.
David.
Move on.
You should move on.
Oh, okay. Camelback Park parking issues. Discuss parking issues at Camelback Park and consider recommendation to limit park rental size. This was for Matthew, so take it away, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commission members, we've had several complaints about Camelback Park over the last few weeks. There's been several teams showing up and playing there. They didn't come in and get a permit. They didn't get the COI. And we came out and visited them and they were very nice. However, the real problem though is parking. There's only 12 parking spaces at Camelback Park. There's just nowhere near enough parking. And when people go there, when they show up, they park along Villanueva. They could park on one side, but of course, people are people and they want to park as close as possible. They park on both sides of the street and it gets very difficult to get through Villanueva for cars, let alone if a fire truck wanted to come through. There are several different ways of doing this. Long term, there should be parking at all city parks. As you guys know, most of our parks do not have adequate parking. Another option would be to make both sides of Villanueva no parking in that area or one side no parking. However, that would be up to the neighbors. I understand that has been discussed in the past about making the home side of Villanueva no parking. However, the residents there decided that wasn't something they wanted to do because if they had a party, people couldn't park there. So there is no parking signs there. The signs are not there. You can park on both sides. So another option we've been looking at is limiting how many people we could rent the facility to. Say, for example, 30 people. That if you came in and wanted to rent Camelback Park, that your event, your sport, whatever you want to say, couldn't have more than 30 people. Now, granted, that's very small for that area, but the reason for that is just parking. There is just not enough parking there. Again, there's 12 parking spaces. So I wanted to throw that at you guys and see what you think. I think the easy short-term solution is to limit how many people can use the park as far as an actual event or a sport league. Certainly Aleppo Park would be a much better option for sports teams. There's parking there. It's bigger area. So many good things. Again, I think the easy solution would be just to limit how many people we can actually rent the park to for an event. But what do you guys think?
Matthew,
Yes, sir.
or Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Woody has a hand up and a question. Sonny, did you have a question first?
Well, I just have a comment, and it's funny because Matthew and Pat and I, our youth sports coordinators, discussed this several times, but I think we use that for our own programs at least one time during the year. I can remember seeing flag football there, and if we limited it to 30 people, then we probably wouldn't. That would take it away from us being able to use it for our programs too. And maybe Pat has already thought about that because we have discussed it several times. So might be something just to confirm with our guys, our programs. Do we need that field? Because when we use it, we put no parking signs for youth sports programs, temporary signage, and then we take them away right after the games. That's what we do at Scout Park, and that's what we do at Camelback. But these other groups that rent the parks, they don't do that. So I guess the answer could be we would put up signs if we use it so no one could park over there. But to keep an outside AYSO group or a Pop Warner football group from using that field, then we would limit as to how many people could be on the field. So I might have just complicated things more. I don't know.
I agree. I would think for rentals, we could limit it.
Woody, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that several years ago, we were asked to look at additional parking at Camelback Park. And we came up with, and it's been a long time since I looked at it, but we came up with a plan for that area. That's kind of a narrow strip of land between the west end of Camelback Park and the residences to the west. So this would be between Villanueva and Camelback Road. And there was enough room, if I remember right, there was enough room to get a single lane of like angle parking in there. And I don't remember the number, but it's something we might want to consider for long term. You know, obviously it would cost quite a bit of money to do that. And I'm not even sure, you know, the city wants to do that in terms of the aesthetics of that area, but it's something that we did look at, and we can dig it back up again and take another look at it. Thank you.
Yes, please. That would certainly help our discussion. Joanne, David, and then Susan.
Yes, I do remember that, Woody, and I remember someone on the commission saying, what would the neighbors think? Right across from there, the houses are right across from where we're talking about. But the alternative of putting signs up and not letting these people park, they're going to park on the streets. The street right there around from the park, possibly up onto Ora Vista, and yeah, it would be dangerous. So I think we do have to limit how many people if they can, the people, it's not the people, it's the cars. If they come in, 5 people come in a car, that's fine. But if each person brings an individual car and there are 30 groups or 30 people out there, it's nothing we do will satisfy it. That's it.
Good point. David?
Yes, sir. So this has been before RAPCON before, many years ago. I remember exactly what Woody was talking about. In fact, I think at one time we were going to put a dog park over there where he's talking about for the parking lot. So that kind of came and went. But I helped schedule soccer over there in the late 80s and the early 90s. And another option that you come up with, what happens is they schedule the games too close together. So you figure if there's 11 kids on each team, so that's 22 kids. And so that's that could be 22 cars. And you got the referees and you got the coaches. So you're going to be up to 30 cars. So I think I'm hearing 30 people. And I don't know any sports that have 2 teams out there playing that are going to that aren't going to have more than 30 parents or 30 folks on the field. You got the players, you got 22 players. Now are they going to count as part of the 30 limit? So you're going to have every other parent come. But I think another option is really, we always had problems when they had games scheduled like 30 minutes apart from start. One of them finishes the next one. You do it an hour. You say, okay, this team's going to finish, leave, and then the next team can start showing up 30 or 40 or an hour later. So that eliminates as many of the cars. So I've seen it. I've seen it down at Turtle Park also. They park both sides of the roads. I see it over at Stag Park too, both sides of the road. So yeah, maybe it's time to review it and see what limitations we want to put there, what sports we want to allow. So, but I think timing of the games or scheduling of the games is real critical. So anyway, I'll go back on mute. Go ahead.
Thank you, David. Susan?
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to ask Matthew, how many complaints have you received about the parking recently?
I would say 3 to 4 in the last 2 weeks.
We had another one tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So just some ideas and some comments. So if we're all supposed to be social distancing, these people are all arriving single with their child in the car. They're not carpooling like we used to. So this problem might correct itself maybe down the road into the summer months a little bit. And I also know that spring sports is always crazy down there. I live right by there. But the neighbor that is on the corner of Villanueva and Ora Vista, that's a new owner. And the previous owner had some type of parking block structure that he put up for events that just said no parking here. So he basically regulated the front of his own property. And perhaps we redline that side of Villanueva where the homes are, so there's no parking, and you're forced to push the people to park on the opposite side down by where Woody was talking, all the way around to that very first house. That should be sufficient parking. That being said, when the Wigwam has big tournaments, people park all along the golf course side of that as well. So you probably have to balance that too. I don't know if the complaints are sufficient enough to recreate a whole new parking structure for this. That's all.
Mr. Chairman?
So I'll say just from my experience coaching, so I've coached there as another team is coaching there, and we've arrived before the previous team, all the parents from the previous team have left. And there are times when it's a little sketchy. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And I certainly could see people living across the street from Camelback saying that this is making this street a little bit dangerous. Mm-hmm. And, it's not, I mean, you see that at a lot of the parks that have the fields in between games. What David was saying is there's a lot of like in traffic and out traffic at the same time. And just being a coach, maybe I'm getting there a little bit earlier than the majority of my team is, but I saw it firsthand. And I at one point or another had reached out to Pat, and I had, kind of talked to him about the same issue. But I'm kind of curious as to, so Sonny, would we need a motion to take a look at the parking that Woody was referring to, the parking plans that were from the past, or would we? I don't know, how they would change the park, and that would certainly be a big part of the discussion. But if it is something that's causing a problem, maybe we should look at the plans from before about the parking.
Okay, well, could I clarify something?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I know David made good suggestions, and so did Susan, about staggering or whatever. We aren't about a league using several. We're talking about a group showing up to practice that's a club team in each of these situations. One was a football team, one's a soccer team. They had nothing to do with our recreation programs. They just show up there, and they had 5 or 6 10-by-10 canopies set up. They had 2 or 3 different football teams practicing at the same time. It was not Pop Warner, but it was NYS, because we asked them. And then we have a soccer group that shows up there without reserving the parks, without us knowing they're coming. When we have our leagues, we regulate it, as David said. We try to stagger when someone comes, and we put up temporary signs. What Matthew is referring to is if we rent it to someone that wants to have practice there, that's a club. Well, you can do that, but you can't have 4 or 5 clubs practicing at the same time. And that's what's been happening. And we actually went and talked to them. They're in violation of a code by using the field without reserving it, without providing insurance to us. That's what Matthew's talking about, not our leagues or some league using it for game after game after game. It's just a big gang practice. And it may take care of itself once their season gets going, because this seems to be like preseason stuff. As we talk to them, that's what they tell us. Well, we couldn't use our field, so this seemed like a good field, so we came here. And then, of course, we tell them they can't come back if they don't follow the stipulations that we have for reserving a facility. Am I correct, Matthew?
Yes, that's correct. It's
Well,
mainly
that's
just
really
the people just showing up.
And
Susan, did you want to say something else?
I just wanted to ask, is it something simple that we could post a sign, Matthew and Sunny, that says, a few signs that say no groups unless, this park is, groups over whatever amount must have a reservation with the city of Litchfield per, whatever our code is. And that was one comment. And the second comment is, when you do rent the park to clubs and groups, can you put in the paperwork that they must notify their parents that parking is limited? I know, as a parent of a club softball player, if we were going to venues where we couldn't bring things, or, you were limited, we always knew that in advance.
We've actually been talking about doing just what you said, actually, about putting signs at all the parks that if you're going to rent the park, that you must do the permit, you must have certificate of insurance. And we could certainly put on there that you can only have so many people, so many cars. You must inform your patrons, because there should be signs at the park that says that anyway. Because right now there's no sign at the park that says you can't just show up and play soccer, that you have to have a reservation in advance. So that's something we've already been talking about doing. And I do think that would help, just to let people know. If nothing else, it would help if a police officer goes out to have something to cite to have a point of reference.
Right.
Thank you for that question.
So do we have action on this now, or is this something that? Yeah, we do. We can act on it. So would we move to do that now, Sonny, or?
Ask Matthew.
Could I make a motion
Matthew,
to have signs made?
But you could-
Matthew, can we just make a motion to have signs made that would include what you mentioned a minute ago?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you sure can.
Okay. Susan, was that your complete motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, David?
I'll second her motion just to get to the discussion stage, all right? So I second.
Okay. Andy, is that what you were gonna say too?
Second it, and I have no discussion.
Okay. All in favor?
No way, you gotta have discussion. You have to open it for discussion.
Okay, open for discussion now. Does anybody have a comment on it? David, take it away.
Who's going to enforce this sign we're going to put up? Over the years, I usually just call Sonny and tell him, hey, I've got him on speed dial. But we talked about a park ranger before. I don't think the deputy's going to stop and do it. And I know there's there's a guy that's riding around in the Gator, but he's just checking the parks. I think he's checking the trash cans in the restrooms. But are we going to ask him to go out and enforce it, or?
Well,
But
honestly,
David, by having something there, if we had to ask MCSO to go out, they would have something to point to inform the group that if they don't have a permit, they shouldn't be there.
Okay. Well,
But
I've
with
seen parks.
With no signage, you're right. It's a situation that we definitely eventually have to solve. But once our own leagues start, it pretty well solves itself. Because we use all the parks. But we were thinking about doing signs anyway. Is that correct, Matthew?
that is correct.
Are there any other comments on that? David, take it away.
Yeah, I just text the guy that lives right across the street from the parks, and he and I have talked about this, and his comment was, this has happened the last 2 weeks, and the first week they parked on both sides of the street. Evidently somebody said something to, I don't know, Sonny talked to him, but he said the last Saturday, they parked on the park side, which is correct. And he says there's 15 to 20 cars. So I think Sonny's right. I think once we get into our own league time or league schedule, it'll kind of correct itself. But again, this is not a new problem. This has been an ongoing. I'm sure Joanne remembers us talking about it. I'm sure Andy does. I know Sonny does. So anyway, I think the signs are a great idea. So I'll call for the vote.
Can we vote on it now, Sonny?
Yes, you can, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. Thank you for that.
Okay, I do want to make clear, we did not talk about limiting size, right? Right now, we're just going to try signs.
Yep.
Are you okay with that, Matthew?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner applicant update. Take it away, Sonny.
Okay, yeah, we got a lot to talk about, I guess. Moving on, we haven't been together for so long. There isn't a whole lot of update because if you looked at the minutes as you read and we approved them tonight, at our last meeting in March, I said that they're going to be doing interviews on Wednesday, which would have been March 18th, to interview the people that had applied and the people who had, and to approve the people who, want to re-up. And of course, the COVID-19 hit and everything's shut down. So the only update is just to remind you that I think it's Susan and Joanne both are up for it, but they want to be on it again. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, you guys are coming on again. And the only other, we have one open seat, and that's Ron Clares, who's now on the council. And we have 3 applicants for that. One is Brian Culbreth, one is Brian Faith, and the other is Carrie Gianjobi. But Carrie Gianjobi said that was her 5th choice. Both Brian said that would be their first choice, and they both would like to interview for it. And I don't think we'll be interviewing until we stop doing it by Zoom, start regular meetings, unless it becomes, this is our first meeting back again. I don't think the council has thought that they had to fill the spot because we weren't having meetings. But if we remind them, they may choose to do something by Zoom with the candidates to fill our spots, or they may just wait until they can interview them in person. So that's the update in case you're wondering what's going on with it.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Susan.
Just really quick, is the time for applicants, has that closed?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Andy. Oh, hold on, Andy.
So right now there's 5 of us?
No,
Who are we missing?
you're only missing
Adam.
Ron Clare.
Right.
That's the
Adam
only open
Schwartz
seat.
So Ron Clare would make us have 6 people?
No, I'm
What
sorry. he
about
would make-
Adam?
Adam. Yeah, we're missing Adam.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I thought
Yeah.
you meant missing as far as people that would be running for a seat.
No, I meant missing tonight. Okay, I forgot.
yeah.
Okay,
You're
never
right.
mind. I'm good then.
You're-
I just wanted to be sure we had an odd number.
Okay. We
Thank
will
you.
have 7 when it's all full.
Right, thank you.
Are there any more questions on that? Okay. We are now on K, City Center Update Design. Woody, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what I want to do is just hit the highlights of what we've been doing for the last few months, since we presented the park plan to you, and then see if there's any questions. So we've been pretty busy the last couple of months working on getting a contractor on board. If you remember, we talked about construction manager at risk contractor, and we now have top-ranked a firm called Aiken Gardner. We had 6 submittals, and we narrowed it down to Aiken Gardner as the top firm, and we'll be taking their pre-construction services contract to the council on July 15th. We've also been working heavily on engineering and getting the plans prepared for the first phase. And just to remind you, the first phase consists of the roundabout at Litchfield Road and Village Parkway, some improvements on Litchfield Road itself, and then Village Parkway being extended into the city center for about 3,000 feet or so. And then what the first phase of the park would also be built at the same time. But we don't know yet what the first phase of the park is going to be, and we're beginning those discussions with DRB and the council over the next couple of months through work sessions. So I'll make sure that Stacy is aware of when those work sessions are going to be held, and so that you members, commissioners, can attend and put your 2 cents worth in again. One of the things that we've also been working on is a phasing plan for the park, and trying to decide what's going to be in the first phase. And as I mentioned, we're going to be looking to the DRB and council for help in that regard. And then we're beginning to look at the hardscape, finishes, landscape, all the aesthetic elements of the first phase. And again, those are going to be handled through DRB and work sessions with DRB and the council. So engineering plans are about 70 to 80% finished. The next few months will be working as a team with the contractor and our engineer to finish up the plans and get them ready to start construction. Hopefully around the end of this year, we should be out there moving dirt and abandoning utilities and things like that, hopefully before the end of the year. And with that, I'll just open it up for questions.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions? Susan, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was absent for the last meeting. It was during spring break. And then the world ended. The slideshow that you guys were shown, is that on our website? Is that somewhere that I can see them?
For the park plan itself, the conceptual park.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's on the website yet because the council hasn't seen it yet. But I can certainly send it to you.
Okay, thank you. I'll email you after.
We'll send it to all members of the commission.
Okay, appreciate that.
If you guys don't mind, Stacy has some information regarding that.
So the last meeting, there was not a slide presentation because it wasn't working. So you guys all received a print handout. Susan, I have a packet for you with that in it.
Okay, I'll stop by tomorrow and grab it.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other comments or questions?
Are we still sending out slides? Or no?
Please.
Are we what?
Are you going to still
the
send
community-
out the slides as Woody said, or was that what Stacy said, meaning that won't happen?
No, I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm saying that did not happen at the last
Right.
meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
So I don't know what you guys want to do with that.
I have it in PDF, so I'll just send it out. I'll send it to Stacy and she can send it out to everybody.
Perfect.
Copy that. Are there any comments, questions? Okay. Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
RPGcom, topics for referral to City Council. Discussion of possible topics for referral to City Council. Does anybody have a possible topic to discuss for referral to City Council?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Staff report on current events. It says yellow, but I don't think it's yellow. Is that the case?
That is the case.
Okay.
My apologies.
This one's going to be led by Matthew. Go ahead, Matthew. You don't have to apologize.
All right, 1 second.
Take your time.
Mr. Chairman and board members, of course, you have the report in your packet, as you'll see. I'll just hit a few high points. As far as 4th of July, and forgive me if any of this has been covered while I was gone in the meeting. If it was, you've already covered it, you have my apologies. As far as the fireworks show, the Wigwam will be doing a fireworks show. However, they will not be inviting the public to watch it from the golf course. The reason why, of course, is social distancing. They will be inviting people to watch from their homes, watch from their backyards. We do have some concerns that people are going to naturally congregate to parking lots or behind City Hall. However, there isn't a lot that we can do about that, unfortunately. Most cities around the state are doing this. They're doing fireworks shows without having other events and inviting people to stay home. So we'll see how that goes. But again, there will be a fireworks show on Saturday, 4th of July at 9 p.m. And again, we encourage citizens to watch that from home. The rec pool will be open from 10 to 5 on the 4th of July for open swim. We will have no special programs that day, no food trucks, no other activities. And again, that's just because of COVID-19. We are still limited to 50 people in the pool at one time. We are planning to go to 75 people in the pool at one time when we enter stage 2. We had been planning on going to stage 2 on June 15, but as I'm sure you know, COVID-19 cases numbers are going way up. So stage 2 may wait a while, or phase 2 may wait a while, unfortunately. Youth sports are canceled until phase 3. Phase 3, we're hoping for August 1st. Now we're going to go ahead and open up registration in late June so people can start registering for these sports. They wouldn't start playing until August anyway, but if it comes up August 1 and we can't open phase 3, then we would just have to refund people their money. So we're kind of playing it by ear because we just don't know what's going to happen yet. Unfortunately, I wish we did, but we don't. Sports were canceled in March, and payments were refunded or held as a credit in the system, either one. We did refund a good bit of money for obvious reasons. Same thing with preschool, but again, that's the world we're currently living in. Aquatics, the rec pool opened on June 1. Again, we are doing limited numbers, 50 patrons at one time. We are sanitizing all pool furniture between users. Our staff is sanitizing all contact surfaces every hour. If you've been to the pool, you may have seen the backpack sprayers our lifeguards are wearing to sanitize. That's a new thing we're doing. Again, we're just learning as we go. Me and my family were there Sunday, and I will say, as soon as I got out of a deck chair, a lifeguard came over to spray the chair, and he actually sprayed me in the process. So they're very much on the ball about sanitizing. Activities-wise, we are doing some swim activities. We're doing some stroke and conditioning classes for advanced swimmers. We're also doing water aerobics. We've had a lot of questions about swim lessons for small children. However, we don't feel like we can do that safely at this time, again, due to COVID-19. Hopefully we can later in the summer, but we'll see how that goes. You may remember a few months ago, we talked about new pool furniture. The new pool furniture did arrive a couple weeks ago, so we have new furniture at the pool. If you go there, check it out. City Line, normally there would have been a City Line edition in May produced to show all the summer programs, but again, we don't know what the summer is going to look like. So there will be no City Line until probably phase 3. So probably looking at least August for a City Line edition. Again, preschool has been closed since March. We're planning to open preschool when the school opens up. Hopefully, Lord willing, the school opens in August. Again, we'll see. Our public works staff, they are sanitizing our playground equipment daily. They are doing the bathrooms twice daily at the parks. Richard's guys are doing a great job doing that. We appreciate everything they're doing. We already discussed the parking issues. A few things I think you guys should know about. It's not necessarily RPG items, but just to be aware. One, City Council did pass a truck ordinance in May. As you know, there's a lot of discussion about a cross-dock facility being built at Falcon Golf Course. I'm sure you've heard about that. So we did pass the truck ordinance. The city truck route will now be Dysart Road, not Litchfield Road. Trucks can come through the city for ingress and egress for deliveries. However, trucks cannot just go through Litchfield Park. And the reason for that is to keep the commercial traffic in Litchfield Park. Also, we passed a food truck ordinance. So the state passed a law a couple years ago about food trucks, and it's extremely liberal on the food truck side. For example, let's say, for example, that our chairman owns a restaurant on the corner. If I have a food truck, I can park my truck in the spot right in front of his restaurant, as long as it's a legal parking space and there isn't a thing he can do about it. Of course, the argument we're going to have here is from businesses that had invested $500,000 into a brick and mortar building are going to be upset by a food truck being parked right in front of their building. However, that is what the state law says, and there's nothing we can do about it. As long as they're parked there during business hours, as long as they have their license, fire inspection, as long as they jump through the hoops, it is legal. We passed this ordinance because our old city ordinance was out of state compliance, and we are now back under state compliance, if that makes sense. There will be no food trucks in residential areas unless it's part of a birthday party, and then you have to pay them to come to your party. There's a lot of regulations on that. So again, I expect there to be some hiccups from this food truck ordinance as it goes along, and yeah. So I've thrown a lot of information at you. Any questions as far as anything I've mentioned?
Does anybody have a question? I have a statement, maybe a question, I don't know. So the truck ordinance, so that covers, I'm assuming, Camelback and Litchfield roads? but I'm not sure how far north on Camelback and how far west, or pardon me, how far north on Litchfield and how far west on Camelback that covers, because I'm not sure how far Litchfield or, Litchfield Park extends out that way. Can you comment on that, Matthew?
Sure. So all city streets now will be restricted to through truck traffic, unless they're ingress or egress. Were you asking about Camelback specifically, sir?
Yes.
Camelback, it would depend where the city limits are. Now I'm going to refer to Woody on that as far exactly where the city limits are. I think on Camelback, it would be just east of the intersection of Litchfield and Camelback. Would that be correct, Woody?
Yeah, actually, the city doesn't have any control over Camelback Road because the right-of-way, most of the right-of-way is in the county. The only road that we can fully prevent truck traffic on is Litchfield Road from Missouri Avenue down to Indian School.
And other city streets like Old Litchfield Road and your smaller.
Yeah, all the internal streets, right.
And Woody, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't part of the requirements for the loading for the cross-dock facility that they would have to go back toward 303?
Yeah, their own traffic report, and they were willing to have a stipulation that said that the truck traffic would be 90% to and from the west and 10% to and from the east. So that would limit the trucks going through Camelback and Litchfield Road. And then all other vehicles would be split about 50-50.
Thank you, Woody. Our concerns, of course, are a lot of truck traffic being on Litchfield Road, also being on Old Litchfield. As you know, long term, we're planning to put in roundabouts in Litchfield Road. I think that would also help with truck traffic for obvious reasons. I know Sonny and I have both actually seen an 18-wheeler come through Old Litchfield Road and go around the flagpole right in downtown. So I don't think the truck had any business there, but they do come through occasionally. But again, we're just trying to keep truck traffic out of the city that doesn't absolutely have to be in the city. I don't know if that answers your question, Mr. Chairman, or not.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody else have a comment or a question regarding that? Or regarding anything else Mr. Williams presented? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners report on current events. Does anybody have a current event to report on?
I do if they don't, but I'll wait.
Why don't you take it away, Sonny?
Okay, just real quick, we can't discuss it, it's for information only. Tomorrow morning, the city will have an Army flag raising to recognize the 245th birthday of the Army, but it's going to be a virtual flag raising. And if you go on our website at 8:15, you can click on that, or you can go to YouTube and also see it at 8:15. We'll have a virtual flag raising. It's been pre-recorded, but we will be recognizing the 245th birthday of the Army. We have the national anthem, the Army song, the mayor reads proclamations, a lot of the same things we do, but it's all going to be on the website or city Facebook. Also, Little League is going to start using Jackie Robinson Field in July, probably the first week of July. And then there's going to be some road work being done on Camelback eventually that should be completed by the end of July, according to the contractor. But we've set up, Woody actually has set up a system where the parking lot there can be used. There's some no left turns if you're headed west on Camelback. You can't do a left turn into the parking lot, and you can't do a left turn out of the parking lot. You'll have to go down and go on the Village Parkway, do kind of a U-turn around the median, and come back out and take a right turn into the parking lot. But they're going to be playing one game a day on our field at Jackie Robinson Field, Monday through Friday and sometimes Saturday morning. So that's just FYI for you guys. I'll be happy to talk to you after if you have any questions, but we can't discuss it.
Does anybody else have anything? Oh, David, take it away, sir.
Thank you. I just opened my email today. I got something from the rec department, I think Trish, and I'm glad to see they're going to have 3 free swim days sponsored by one of the local civic groups this summer. So, and it does caution that, you know, depending on what the phase we're in on how many people will be able to go. But now that's good that we still let, you know, 3 days that anybody can come swimming. Because I think everybody's ready to get in the pool. So anyway, thanks to the city for setting that up and getting it all set to go. So,
Well,
other than
David,
that-
I think it's okay to say that civic group is Kiwanis.
Oh, I'm sorry. It skipped my mind. I should have remembered that.
Thank
You
guys
guys
for
Thank you for that response, for sure. Does anybody have anything else?
Yeah,
Would anybody- Yes, sir.
I go by most of the parks 3 or 4 times a day, and I think the parks are all looking great. So thanks to the public works staff and the management of that part or whatever, and thanks for Matthew. You know, I think Matthew's fully ingrained now into the Litchfield Park. Whatever you call it, the allure of Litchfield Park. We just seem to do things real well and better than most. So the parks are looking great. I can vouch that everybody knows where the lake is now, and there's more people walking around that lake than I've ever seen before, and probably a good recreation for them. So anyway, thank you to the city staff for taking care of all the parks and everything.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Right on. Okay, I guess that only leaves one thing. If nobody's got anything else to say, would anybody like to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Excellent. Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.